So now we're going to jump back into the slide and look at an example of a relative frequency distribution for the class data. And here I'm just going to show you the data for the feelings about math variable. So you can see in the first two columns of this table, you have the same thing that we had in the feelings about math frequency distribution on the other slide, but I've added columns for proportion and percent. And for each of these columns, I found the numbers using those formulas. So for percent, I used f over n times 100, and for proportion, I just used f over n. And what you can see here is that it tells us how many people answered each question relative to the number of people who answered the other questions. So we can say 43% of the sample said that they're not a fan of math, but they'll do it if they have to, and that was the biggest group we had, whereas only 6% of the sample said, I love it, oh boy. And the proportions tell you the same things, and as you can see there, the numbers correspond again. It's just a difference of where that decimal point is. And now it's time to add another flavor to our frequency distributions here. And with cumulative frequency distributions, we're going to be looking at how cases accumulate as you go from least to most on the observations that you have. So because we're going with least to most, we can only use variables that have attributes that can be put in order from least to most. In other words, you can only make this kind of frequency distribution for variables that are ordinal, interval, or ratio in their level of measurement. And a definition for a cumulative frequency is the total number of cases that are equal to or less than some particular value in your sample. You can do the same thing for a percentage or proportion, so you could find the percent or proportion of cases that are equal to or less than a value in your sample. And this is another one where I think looking at the words isn't too helpful, so we're going to jump back over to the example and find some cumulative frequencies and cumulative percentages in our example data.